everyone. It is 6:30 on April 2nd of 2025. This is Chair Dave Nagaji calling the meeting to order. Anson, please do a roll call to determine quorum and attendance.
Okay, when I call your name, please say here. Okay, Zane.
Here.
Okay, Watson. Not here. Okay, Bozel. Bozel, Whitney. Okay. Okay, Nagaji's here. Okay. Fukumoto. Okay, he's here. Clyde Lumen. He's here. Okay. Lee. Phil Lee. Okay, he's not here. Koff.
Here.
Okay. Chong. Diane Chong. Christopher Moylan.
Here.
Okay. Jason DeMarco. Jason. Okay. Patty Quano. Okay. Robert Fox. Okay. He's here. And Joseph Mashreki. Joseph Mashreki. Okay. That's 7. We don't have quorum.
Okay, thank you, Anson. Hopefully, we'll have more people trickling in as we go forward. We're going to get into the agenda in just a second. First, though, Elton wanted to announce something.
Yes, Chair, I just wanted to inform the members of this board and the audience that Member Watson is back in the hospital. So I'd like everyone here just to observe a moment of silence to silently pray for her recovery. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Fukumoto. Member Norco has arrived, so we're at 8. We're going to begin first responder monthly reports with Honolulu Fire Department. If HFD is here, they can come on up.
All right, thank you, Chair. My name is Clay Stevens. I'm the captain at the Mānoa Fire Station 1st Platoon. This evening, I'm going to read off the statistics for March 2025. So we have 2 structure fires, 1 nuisance fire, 53 medicals, and 2 mountain rescues. I'm also going to read off the April fire safety tip. So April fire safety tip is evacuation planning. Ensure you have an emergency preparedness plan in place for situations like environmental emergencies, fires, or natural disasters. Familiarize yourself with at least 2 escape routes from your home and plan an evacuation path if you must leave your neighborhood due to an emergency. For more information, visit fire.honolulu.gov. Leave early to avoid getting trapped by fire, smoke, or traffic delays. Set up a predetermined meeting spot like a trusted neighbor or relative's home, a low-risk area, a shelter, or evacuation center. And bring your emergency supply kit with the essential items for your family and pets. That's all I have for this evening. Questions?
Thank you, Captain. We'll take Member Fukumoto first. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the web address?
Oh, my apologies. It's fire.honolulu.gov.
All right. Thank you, Member Fukumoto. Do we have any other questions for the captain? Member Zane, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question if there are any updates regarding the cause of the fire that resulted in fatalities earlier this month, or rather last month.
No updates, still under investigation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for the fire department? Going once, going twice? Okay, anything on mine? All right, and there's no hands raised on WebEx. Thank you, Captain. We'll see you again next month.
Thank you.
All right, going next to Honolulu Police Department. HPD, if the lieutenant is here, please go ahead.
Hello, Lieutenant Taro Nakamura with HPD. These are stats for, let's see, March as compared to the previous month. Okay, motor vehicle thefts were 9 as compared to 11. Burglaries were 2 as compared to 5. Thefts in general were 10 as compared to 7. And UEMVs, which is theft from autos, that was 5 as compared to 1. This out a total calls of service of 6,194 for the district. Further statistical information can be found at honolulupd.org. And our safety tip for the month is just a reminder that there's kind of like a one-stop app that you can download on your phone if you want to. It's called hnl.info. You can get it at the App Store or Google Play. And it's like a centralized place where you can gain access to not only the city and county main website, but also Honolulu PD, Honolulu Fire, EMS, Board of Water, which is important, and also the Department of Transportation Services. So just a friendly reminder, if you want to do so, you can download that to your phone, and then what they do is you can get the emergency alerts and checklists and things like that right there, yeah. And that's our safety tip for the month.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant. I did have one question first. Were there any other questions from anyone for HPD? Okay, I'll go ahead and ask mine then. There was a resident who wanted me to ask about the arrest for an alleged murder in Lower Manoa area recently. I think it was late last month. Do you have any updates or any information on that?
I would need more information than that. Do you know what case it was for, or an attempted murder case?
No,
Or murder
it
case?
was a case in Lower Manoa. I think it was on either the 20th or the 21st of March. A person was arrested. There were a whole bunch of police cars that showed up on the street, and the person was charged with, I think, second-degree murder.
Oh, if he was charged, then he was arrested and charged. But what would be your question for that?
Oh, I was just asking if there were any updates or any information you want to share about it.
I don't know the case specifically, but if the person has been charged for a crime, then that means he's pending trial. And we normally wouldn't, especially in my capacity as the patrol lieutenant, we wouldn't release any further information because that case is actually pending trial, right? So we don't want to affect anything that is coming forth in the court system.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant. And there's no other questions or comments for, Member Lumen, please go ahead.
How do you spell?
Oh, Member Lumen, speaking to the microphone so we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hello? How do you spell HNL.info?
HNL, so Hotel November Lima.info. HNL.info.
Is there an AND or what do you say?
So HNL, like you tag when you go to travel, HNL for Honolulu. HNL,
Okay.
yeah, .info. You just plug that into you go to the Apple Store or Google Play, and just if you put those 3 letters in .info, it'll bring up the site, but make sure it has City and County of Honolulu on top first before you download it. Yeah, there's those 2 sites are really good, obviously, because it's the main Apple App Store and Android, Google. But yeah, make sure you're actually downloading it from the City County Honolulu. But it's actually a good site. Has alerts and also has an events calendar and things like that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Lumen, and thank you, Lieutenant. I'm seeing no more raised hands in person. Do we have anyone on WebEx with raised
Yeah.
hands? Let's see. Okay, and since telling me there's no one on WebEx, so thank you, Lieutenant. We'll see you next month.
Take care.
All right, moving next to state monthly reports, starting with item A, Senator Phil Fukunaga. Senator, please go ahead.
Good evening, board members. This is kind of a very busy week, as I'm sure Representative Garrett will attest to. The Senate acted upon its version of the executive budget earlier this week, and we're taking a very cautious posture at this point. So even though there are a lot of bills in motion, we are still waiting to see what the total fallout will be on the federal potential cut side. And so in a lot of ways, as we're moving forward, part of what we've been doing is reaching out to the schools and communities and looking to see what kinds of things we can work on, together in communities as we prepare to have to fill whatever gap we may have to fill if we do lose a considerable amount of federal funds. So part of what I wanted to highlight in my report today is we had a couple of bills in the House that are Senate bills that I thought might be of interest, particularly to the neighborhood board members. One is Senate Bill 223, which deals with fire prevention. And the bill pretty much focuses on a lot of the public lands, DLNR, DHHL, and those types of properties. And what we are now really reaching out in other communities is to really engage and encourage a lot more Firewise community organizing. And I know in Mānoa, we have people like Be Ready Mānoa and a number of other groups. So, we will be reaching out as we see where the bills end up. Another bill that I think is kind of relevant to what Mānoa neighborhood board members have been working on is Senate Bill 1146, which is relating to the Alawai Canal. This bill was intended to be sort of a augmentation to the Alawai Flood Control Project, which now seems to be picking up a much bigger price tag. And so as this bill moves along, part of what we expect to be doing in subsequent months is looking to see how we in the state can begin partnering additionally with the University of Hawaii and other community organizations to really start identifying things that we can also do at the state and county level and not have to rely solely on federal funding for that project. So other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Good to see people here in person.
All right, thank you, Senator. And did anyone have any questions or comments for Senator Fukunaga? Going once, going twice? Okay, none currently, but please stick around if you're able, because there might be more later.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We're going next to Representative. We're going next to Representative Andrew Takuya Garrett. Representative, please go ahead.
Good evening, board members, friends from the community that are here today. So yeah, as Senator Fukunaga said, we're kind of hitting the home stretch here. We literally have 1 month left before we adjourn. So right now it's kind of the hectic period where we're trying to get final bills ready before we send them back to the non-originating chamber. And we're going to enter the madness known as conference committee here fairly soon. Last month I did tease out that we might have to come back in special session because of the budgetary uncertainty in DC. I'm guessing that's more and more likely now. Right now, the feds have a continuing resolution that funds everything through September 30th. Just keep in mind the federal fiscal year starts on October 1. So I'm guessing we might have to come back in the fall to figure out how we're going to do some of that backfilling that Senator Fukunaga was referring to. In the newsletter I just handed out, this went out in 2 waves. So some of you folks may have received this in your mailbox last week. Others might get it today or tomorrow. But there are some bills of interest inside. I'm not going to read it verbatim just in the interest of time. But one bill that unfortunately did not get scheduled by the Senate was the St. Francis bill I introduced. House Bill 548, but we do have a placeholder in the budget, HB 300. So we're hoping that if the developer indicates a willingness to sell, that we at least have that line item to figure out what the amount might be. As you folks know, this is not the bill was not an eminent domain bill, but it takes two to tango. If she's not willing to sell, then not much we can do, unfortunately. But I heard that her price tag keeps escalating now that she has her entitlements in hand. But again, that's at least that is there as a placeholder in the event that there's some movement in the next few weeks or so. Member Fukumoto, last month you talked about the Manoa School and Noelani School being recognized as one of the best public schools in Hawaii for that elementary level. Just wanted to thank Governor Green for releasing money that I was able to secure my first term. So this is 1.5 million that was just released from Manoa Elementary to build a new PA system. And then just today, he released another $1 million for Noelani here. If you look outside of the buildings, there's a pretty good network of covered walkways, but unfortunately it doesn't cover all the areas out to the portables. So with this $1 million, we'll be able to fully complete the system, making sure that the students and teachers and whatnot are protected from the elements in our famous Manoa mist. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
All right, any questions or comments for the representative? Anyone online? All right, no one on WebEx. All right, thank you, Representative. Please stick around if you can. There might be more questions later.
Sure thing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, you're going to University of Hawaii UH at Manoa updates with Elmer Ka'ai. Elmer, if you're online, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Hope you can hear me. I have a chest cold, so it's going to be a challenge. Last month we had a couple questions that I wanted to address. First is the traffic concern and the scheduling of events, event scheduling at the lower campus. First and foremost, we apologize for the inconvenience caused. We are working with our community services and Honolulu Police Department to make sure there is a better time frame of not holding traffic a lot. So we'll continue to work on that. The second part is regarding scheduling of our events. And we try as much as possible to space it out. However, some events are really not controlled under us in a sense of it's controlled by the conference schedule. So if a team has to come in, they only have a certain time to be on campus before they leave. Because of that, we cannot keep them longer than an extra day or anything. So we try to separate that too. But we will try to work with the conferences to work through that. The other question was regarding the parking, well, not directly to Manoa, UH Manoa, but to the overall community regarding parking in the surrounding community. In 2009, UH Manoa adopted a initiative called Good Neighbors Initiative. And a part of that was to kind of be more proactive and foster a stronger relationship with our neighbors, which includes, not only Manoa, but all the surrounding areas, and become more respectful stewardship and stewardship of the area and so on. So every year we try to reach out to our community to remind them, because every year we have new people here, and not only our community in the sense of our students and our staff, but also our guests, because they also have to understand that yes, we understand we are a big player within the Manoa community, but our impacts also affects the St. Louis Heights area, Waialae, Kaimoki, Mo'ilili, Makali, Makiki, as far as Kaka'ako. So we want to make sure we can be more of a better stewards for that. But outside of that, Chair, I think I submitted my report to you. There was a lot in there and regarding our federal status, regarding what's happening at the federal level and so on. But I'll stop at there and take any questions you guys may have.
All right, thank you, Elmer. Do we have any questions or comments for Elmer Kai? Moylan, please go ahead.
Yes, Elmer, could you repeat what the name of that initiative about being a good neighbor is?
It's called Our Good Neighbors Initiative. It is
Our Good Neighbors, did you say?
No, it's called just Good Neighbors Initiative.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was created by our Vice Chancellor Laurie Yedeta, who's recently retired 2 years ago. But her goal is to make sure, because we had a lot of students not only driving and so on, but we also have students living in the area, right? And so we want to make sure that we can tell them, you're not only living here, you're part of the community. Yeah, so that's what we try to do.
Okay, and if one wanted to follow up offline on that initiative,
Just
would you
call
be the
me right
person?
away. Yeah.
Just call
And
you?
also-
Okay.
Yes, just call me directly.
Okay, thanks, Elmer.
Welcome.
All right, thank you, Member Moylan. And Member Quano has a hand raised online. So Member Quano, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Elma. This relates to your explaining about the traffic situation. I know a couple years ago I asked you about potentially posting a calendar of events. People can plan for it. And I know at that time you suggested for me to go through the athletic departments, and I was kind of planning on doing that, and then the whole thing with Craig happened, so I never get a chance to speak to anybody, and I felt that there's a lot more going on there with the interim AD. I don't think she will have time to help with that request, and the new president, probably this is going to be the last on her list. So I never reach out to anybody. I'm just wondering if this is going to be a good time, if this could help the committee to plan for event. Like I think I mentioned to you that I looked at the Blaisdell calendar sometime to see what concerts coming up, what event, trade show and fair, and I kind of said, oh, there's a concert coming up and stuff. So kind of give me an idea what's coming up.
Okay.
If something like that can be put in the UH website, and all the rest of it is, oh, there's 2 games this weekend, baseball and men's basketball, volleyball, then a lot of the people around can plan for it, hopefully.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to bring this request up again to see if you have any idea how to get it going.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Can I just give you a very short response to that one? We do have a master calendar for the lower campus, right? It also includes other events that goes on besides athletics. It does have, whenever there's a function like robotics and all other functions that goes on. That is really a calendar that's always actively moving. I work with the associate athletic director in trying to fine tune that so we can connect it to the website. At the time when I was working with him, I was working with Craig Angelos, who was the AD. We have not approached that with Lois, and I don't think we will do that until we get our new athletic director. But as much as possible, we are trying to get that master calendar, at least a portion of it, onto the main calendar on our website. Because it does have all the activities, not only athletics. As you know, living in that area is always busy, and we have a lot of community activity there. But I'll try. I'll work with you again.
I appreciate that, yeah, because like I said, right, I mean, something simple, because there's other events that people hold, events at the San Sheriff and stuff, so they affect a lot of people. I just wanted to make a recommendation to you
Okay.
folks, and I thought if the city can do that, it shouldn't be that difficult, right? To
Yeah.
just have a Outlook calendar that people can access. So,
Okay.
thank you. I would we'll talk later about
Okay.
how to move forward, but appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Member Quano, do we have any other questions or comments for Elmer before we move on? Oh, let's go ahead.
Hi, Elmer. I'm Brett Krishige, Mānoa resident. Just,
Hi, Brett.
Hey, just curious, Sinclair, I see there's a lot of activity lately. Is there a time or date when it might be completed, the construction there?
Yes, it's actually targeted to get ready in the fall of 2025. Yes. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Real quick, Member Bolswell has something to mention to you, Elmer.
This isn't really for Elmer, actually, but I was just saying that we never had our second update with the planning folks at UH about we were going to split it up into 2 meetings, and I believe we had the first
Okay.
one back in November. But
Okay.
I'll coordinate that with over email.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. I'll watch out for it.
All right, thanks everyone. We're gonna move on to our next item now, which is Governor Josh Green's representative. We have a representative from the governor. Oh, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So just a couple of updates from the governor's office. Last month, the state launched Akamai Arrival pilot program under the Department of Agriculture to digitize the plants and animals incoming travelers and returning residents on select domestic flights to Hawaii will have the option to complete a digital declaration form instead of a paper form. The initial pilot phase will run through May 31st. And for more information, you can visit akamaiarrival.hawaii.gov. Also, the Hawaii Department of Agriculture has opened a free treatment program for little fire ant infestations on residential properties on Oahu. So if anyone's interested, you can look at the instructions on hdoa.hawaii.gov, and the governor's newsletter is available at governor.hawaii.gov. Available for any questions. Thank you.
All right. And did anyone have any questions or comments for the governor's representative? Going once, going twice? Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I can't resist. I've always wondered what happens to a huge stack of those paper forms when we all pour off the plane and you know, all the people who filled out those forms scatter like bugs. And so what if there was something on one of the forms that someone in the state would want to go, hey, we should talk to this person. Sorry, they're gone. They drove away half an hour. How does this work? I mean, how do those forms work?
For the paper forms?
Yes.
I would have to defer to the Department of Agriculture and get back to you, but I can get that. for
Okay.
you.
I just filled out a couple of those over the last week. Once again, I was curious.
Well, hopefully those will be going away soon.
All right. Thanks, Member Moylan. And anyone online? All right. No one online? Anyone in person? Okay. Thank you for coming to present to us. And we're going to move to item E, the Congressman Ed Case's representative. Does the Congressman have a representative for us tonight? All right, I'm not seeing or hearing anyone, so it sounds like there's no representative from Ed Case. So we're going to go to city monthly reports now. Board of Water Supply, Dominic Diaz. Is Dominic available?
Yeah, I'm here online. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So real quick, looking back at the month of March, we had one main break, March 10th. This was fronting 3515 Alani Drive. No current construction projects. However, we are still working on Pensacola Street for people who might use Pensacola to get down to the post office area and into town. That project is currently in front of the cemetery area there along Pensacola. A quick general announcement, April 13th through April 19th is Detect a Leak Week. So the Board of Water Supply, in conjunction with Hardware Hawaii, is hosting a couple of events. Saturday, April 13th at Pearl Ridge Center near Macy's from 11:30 to 1:30. And then Friday, April 19th at Kahala Mall Center Court. There's going to be, informational booths, tips on fixing leaks in the home, the dye tablets you can get to check your toilets. There'll be activities as well as opportunities to win prizes. There's more information on our website, boardofwatersupply.com/DALW. And at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions on behalf of the Board of Water.
All right, thank you, Dominic. Do we have any questions for, Member Moylan, please go ahead.
Does the board have any policy or program for recycling water on individual parcels as opposed to the existing HWRF over in EVA?
We are looking at different opportunities for on-site gray water reuse. There are
Yes.
some studies and things. We are having larger new developments investigate on-site gray water reuse and submit a report as part of their planning efforts to at least investigate it and look at the feasibility of doing it. It's not codified as a requirement yet. There's still a lot of ongoing discussions related to water reuse. There are a lot of One Water initiatives currently going on across the city, across agencies, which are looking at all forms of water. So stormwater, stormwater capture, gray water reuse, recycled water opportunities. So long answer, yes, we are looking at it, but we don't have any written like policy or directives that make any requirements yet.
Okay, if I wanted to find out more about that, whom should I talk to?
I could reach out to you. I could get you some information.
Oh, thanks very much. That would be very helpful.
All right, thank you. Member Zane, please go ahead.
Dominic, quick question. I believe the water supply mentioned previously about a pilot catchment system that people could sign up with.
Is this, are you talking about like the rain barrel?
Yes.
Yes. So we do workshops several times a year related to rain barrel systems. We also offer rebates. I believe, I forget which retailer, but we offer rebates for people that buy them in store to be installed in their home as well. We have a conservation group that has a lot of information related to rain barrels. If you go to our website and you just do a search on rain barrels, you can find upcoming workshops as well as information on how to assemble rain barrel catchment for your home to use your downspout to feed into rain barrel catchments. I'm not positive when the next workshop is, but I can look into that and report back to the board.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Zane. Do we have any other questions for BWS? All right. Oh, Benita, please go ahead.
Venita Axon. I have a question about the work going on at Kakela. How is that going and when might it end?
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry, which project?
It's a project, it's a Board of Water Supply project going up on Kakela. They're redoing the pipes there, I understand. There's a lot of work going on. The street just Eva of McKinley on Mānoa. Okay.
Okay, I will look into it and report back to the board. I apologize.
All right, and I'm not seeing any other raised hands in person or on Zoom, so we're going to move to our next person. Thank you, Dominic, for coming in. We'll see you next month. And we're going next to Mayor Blangiardi's office. Does the mayor's office have a representative?
Aloha, this is Gavin Thornton. I'm here.
All right, please go ahead.
Good evening. First, I just wanted to circle back to the questions that came up last time. I had shared about the FEMA flood insurance maps coming out and the comment period. I tried to get information back to folks on the neighborhood board. Just wanted to check and make sure there was no follow-up questions about that item. If not, someone asked a question last time about the Supreme Court's ruling regarding San Francisco's recent lawsuit against the Environmental Protection Agency, asking would that have any effect on the city and county of Honolulu. And according to the environmental department folks, it will not. Yeah, no impact on ENV or its permits. Manoa resident had also requested that the Department of Parks and Rec restore the surface of the courts at the Manoa tennis courts at the Manoa Valley District Park. And according to DPR, they're in the process, like working on a contract to do that work, tentatively scheduled for the later part of 2025. Those are all the questions that came in, and I just wanted to share a couple other items. Mayor Belangiardi is again this year holding a series of town hall meetings all around Oahu. The town hall meeting nearest to Manoa is going to be at Kalani High School in the cafeteria on June 5th at 7 p.m. So folks are encouraged to come and ask whatever questions they have of the mayor or any of the departments. The whole cabinet shows up at those town hall meetings. And lastly, just want to mention the Departments of Park and Rec is looking to hire staff for the summer fun program. Really important program for Oahu families and their keiki. And if you want to find out more about that, you can go on the Departments of Park and Rec website. Look up the summer fun program. They could use folks to support that. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Gavin. Do we have any questions or comments for the mayor's office? Anyone online? All right, thanks for coming, Gavin. We'll see you next month. And we're going to move to our next person or next item, which is item C. City Councilmember Scott Nishimoto, and I saw Heath Williams on earlier. So is Heath here for the councilman?
Yes.
All right, please go ahead.
Hey, Heath Williams, Councilmember Nishimoto's office. So I guess following up on a couple of questions from the board, the first one was from regarding the Civil Beat article about Kahale and the kind of cost associated with them. I got confirmation from city admin that the two Kahale mentioned in that article were state run solely and state funded. So just to clarify that. The other question was from Board Chair Dave Hay, regarding sidewalks and funding for sidewalks fronting properties that don't currently have them. So I sent in a question to the admin on this, and I'm still kind of waiting on a reply, but I did a little bit of independent research, and the only thing that I could find within like existing law that might cause residents to have to chip in for sidewalk projects in front of their properties would be like within the context of like a special assessment district, which would have to be created. So I can maybe follow up next month and get you guys a little bit more information once I have like a full response from city admin. But I think that, if the city decides to do a sidewalk project, it's at the city's expense. But if residents want to create a special assessment district, and chip in towards sidewalks that they want, that's also a possibility in some places. I can get back to you with more details on this, which I have a little bit more information. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Happy to answer any questions or take anything back for more information. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Heath. Do we have any questions or comments from board members? Anyone online? Or from members of the community? Oh, Rich Botts, a former member of the board. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Ray Tabata. I live on Laurie Avenue and for almost 40 years now. But over the years, I've noticed more and more people are walking along Laurie Avenue on the street. I have some pictures of people in wheelchair, some mom pushing a stroller on the street. I think I saw someone in the, let me see, what is it? A person with a disability, on the street. And I've seen this a number of times. Now, I'm not on Laurie all the time, so I can't say this is statistically significant or anything. Number of people who walk on the grassy area, and just ask them casually, what do you think about a sidewalk? And invariably, a lot of them will say, well, it would be nice to have a sidewalk because the grassy area is uneven. There's a lot of driveways with, edges where you might trip on it. Not every property maintains that strip. So it's kind of a not so comfortable area to walk. If you're a senior, it's even worse. So in summary, I just want to say that there are a lot of people who walk along Laurie Avenue. Some of them end up in the street, and that's very unsafe. And I have some pictures of these people, so I have some, evidence that this actually happens. Now, the question of whether adjoining property owners need to pay to have a sidewalk installed, I remember contacting Kelvin Say's office, I think that had been last year. I talked to one of the staff people who told me that the law was changed or something, or the policy was changed so that if a sidewalk is installed like along Laurie Avenue, the adjoining property owners don't have to chip in. So if that is true, I wouldn't mind seeing an effort to put in some kind of walkway because they're really wide strips, so there's a lot of room for a sidewalk. I would not be in favor of concrete highway for pedestrians, but there's something reasonable and safe for all the people who use that area. So I think it would be good for
Okay.
pedestrian safety.
Sorry, I gotta cut you off for
That's it.
yeah.
Pedestrian safety.
Okay. Thanks, right about and that was the purpose of the question that was sent to Keith Williams with the councilman to get a clear answer regarding who would end up having to pay or not pay for the sidewalks, just so we can consider that during future meetings if there is a clear answer one way or another. So Keith, please do follow up on that. We're not in a rush, so we don't need your answer tonight. If you can get us the complete answer at next month's meeting, then that'll give for stuff we might consider next year. But
Sure.
thank you for coming in. And we also have a raised hand from Dylan Armstrong on WebEx. Dylan, please go ahead.
Aloha, Mai Kako, and thank you, Chair Nagaji, for recognizing me. Can everyone hear me okay? I wanted to thank Keith and actually add on to Mr. Tabata's comment because when I was on the neighborhood board, I actually did a walking survey of Lowry Avenue to ascertain how residents on Lowry felt about getting a potential sidewalk. This issue is more contentious among some parts of Manoa than it would seem. But bottom line, and this is going to be reflected in the minutes, I want to say in 2016 or 2017 for the Manoa Neighborhood Board, that the majority of Lowry residents I actually spoke with were completely supportive of having a sidewalk installed on either the Mauka or Makai side. Different reasons for why you might choose either, and for a cost savings perspective, not both. But as I went a block off of Lowry onto adjoining streets, interest or concern about pedestrian safety kind of rapidly dropped off. It wasn't opposition, it's just the urgency for having a sidewalk and for pedestrian safety was strongest among the Lowry residents. Myself and at that point, some people who were not yet on Manoa Neighborhood Board, but would later serve on Manoa Neighborhood Board, or in the case of one person, a returning resident to Manoa who was born and raised in the Valley, all expressed support in neighborhood board meetings for having some sort of pedestrian infrastructure on Lowry, specifically because elderly people and mothers and other parents with strollers are walking in the street. They're walking in the traffic lane with cars that are flying down Lowry. Anyone who observes Lowry during regular daytime traffic knows people do not necessarily observe the speed limit. They're not necessarily vigilant drivers. There's a lot of users.
Okay, Dylan, sorry, I got to cut you off for time. So you can wrap it up just real quick and then we can.
But thank you, Chair Nagaji. This is something that there is a lot of support on. A lot of the opposition towards sidewalks comes from residents in other parts of the Valley. And it gets very ugly from there. But the reality is it's needed.
Okay, Dylan, we gotta move forward. Thanks. Okay, so Keith, again, please follow up on that and get us a thorough answer on what the law is with regard to paying for sidewalks. Then based on that, we can decide if we want to do anything in future meetings.
Okay, happy to do so.
Are there any other questions or comments for Heath? I'm not seeing anyone in person, online. Okay, there's no one online either. Okay, thank you for coming in, Heath. We'll see you next week, and we're going to move. Returning business. Okay, so the first thing for returning business is the no banning court and Aria Lane situation. So brief recap, that's in the minutes, is that in January, DPP issued a FONSI for a no banning court. In February, DPP issued approval for Aria Lane subject to certain conditions. And at the last two meetings, the board has authorized the chair to send a testimony against both projects at future proceedings or appeals. Another brief update is that Member Fukumoto and I are currently working on a resolution that was requested by a few people over the past few weeks to ask the city and state to jointly consider the cumulative impact of both projects during any future approval proceedings or appeals. So we're working on that, and we'll hopefully have that done in time for the May meeting to vote on it. So I was told ahead of time this morning by Howard Luke that he had an update that he wanted to share. So I'll call on Howard now to let us know what's going on, and then we can open it up to others.
I'm Howard Luke, and I'm a resident of Mānoa. And here's a brief update on what's happening with our appeal of the conditional permit for Aria Lane. And thanks, Carol and Andrew Garrett, our representatives, for being here. And it feels so good to be back home in the Noelani cafeteria. So I talked to our attorneys. We have hired a law firm, Kessner, Mubayashi, et cetera, to handle the appeal. And we have made some financial donations for hopefully the successful appeal before the zoning board or the circuit court. I say or the circuit court because first you have to go to the zoning board of appeals. And my understanding for cases that were brought before the zoning board of appeals, all 54 went in favor of DPP. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to establish our record because we have to exhaust administrative appeals before we get to the circuit court. We filed our documents, our petition. I don't know how we can get it. Online, but it consists of it's a pretty lengthy document. I think with all exhibits, it's close to 1,000 pages. It's 981 pages estimated by one person, 988 by another, but very close to 1,000 pages. That's what the exhibits. The text of our petition and the arguments and the supporting documents, the declaration of one of our neighbors, I think that comes out to about anywhere between 40 to 50 pages. So we have a very exhaustive document, and if anyone wants to have it, they can contact someone, one of us on the St. Francis Malama Manoa. What I forget that name. I'm embarrassed to say that exactly the order. But the last thing I want to say, and I'll be done, is that we're raising money through either direct contribution or through GoFundMe. So far with GoFundMe, I think we have $7,400. And what I really would like on a personal level is if anybody can spare any amount of money, and that's even $5, that'd be great, because it'll show that there's numbers, that we all are concerned. It doesn't matter if the amount is small, don't be embarrassed, because there are some substantial donations. It'll show that we're all in this together. And of course, if you're not for saving Pomoa Road, of course, you don't want to donate. But thanks very much. Any questions from anybody?
I'll just ask real quick. Does anyone have any immediate follow-up questions for Howard? Anyone online? All right. That doesn't look like it. I think you're good.
Thanks very much.
Yep. Thanks for coming in to thanks for coming in for the update, Howard. And I'll open it up now if there's anyone else who wants to share any updates or anything relating to Middle Banning Court or Aria Lane. Any updates, any news other than what's already been shared? Anything online? All right, it doesn't look like thank you, Howard Luke, for coming out. And we're going to go next to item B in returning business, which is all-white flood mitigation, specifically concerns regarding potential flooding caused by the narrowing of Manoa Stream alongside Manoa Valley District Park. And that's going to be from Member Fukumoto. So Member Fukumoto, please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. There are two separate topics there, so I'll just be addressing the first one, and then the second one will come later. Can you wait to 5 minutes or so? After 5 minutes, just. Well, there's nothing much to report on this topic. That's just an April Fool's joke, because in the Sunday paper on the front page, there was this article titled "Costs Rising." So we in this valley have been dealing with this particular flood control project since 2018, when Congress told us that they were going to fund it, and that it was up to a so-called local sponsor to come up with the remaining $125 million. At this time, the project was going to cost $370 million, something like that. Oh, I actually have the numbers. $345 million, and the local sponsor, that is the state, would come up with around $120 million. Well, the state didn't come up with that money for various reasons, which I'm not going to go into. And so, well, that particular project was going to build detention basins in the back of Mānoa Valley and Palolo. And people didn't like that. So we went to number 2, version 2.0. They were going to build a pump station in the middle of the Alawai Canal. And that was another project that was going to be, for once in 100 years, you're going to have this building, and maybe once in 100 years, they were going to actually use that thing. Well, that didn't sound too good. Anyway, the Army Corps decided, oh, when we do the modeling again, this thing is going to cost $600,000, and it's not going to be effective. So we're going to scrap that, and we're going to move to version 3.0. Now, version 3.0 is having the Alawai Canal itself be the detention basin, because you'll have 8-foot walls around it. The problem with that is it probably will induce flooding in the low-lying areas like Mo'iliili, Makali, Kaimaki, and so forth. Anyway, the estimated cost of that project was $1.1 billion. The price is moving up. And we read in the paper that the mayor has heard from somebody, we don't know who, because the Army Corps will neither confirm nor deny the new cost figure. The 10 times the cost of the previous goes from 1.1 billion to $11 billion. And I can understand the reasoning. The reasoning is there was a Court of Appeals case called Ideker Farms versus the United States. This dealt with an Army Corps project along the Missouri River, 2,300 miles, in which there would the Army Corps construction would induce flooding. It would have periodic flooding of these farms, and that would constitute, under the Constitution of the United States, a takings, which would require that just compensation be paid to the property owners. And Ideker Farms went against went against the United States, and therefore, after that, am I 1 minute left? Okay, I'm going to wrap this up then. It's my personal belief that the $11 billion figure is a little bit inflated. Nevertheless, it looks to me like the Army Corps should pretty much quit what it's doing now, which is preparing the EIS. Just go back to say, okay, we're going back to the drawing board. This is just too expensive, and try other options. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Member Fukumoto, for updating us on all that. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Member Fukumoto or on the subject matter in general? Member Zane?
Thank you for the update, Elton. One quick thing you might want to keep an eye on is that in the latest budget approved by Congress, they slashed the Army Corps of Engineers budget significantly. So that could affect all future projects or ongoing projects such as this one.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yep. Yes, Member Fox, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is a very troubling subject for Manoa, and we've talked about it many times in the past. I'm rather pleased that the Army Corps of Engineers is not going to have very much money, so that we will not be impacted by this mess. However, since we're not going to get a great deal of federal funding, I hope that we can encourage our state to fund maintenance in the Manoa Stream and the Palolo Stream, because it seems that's one thing that we can do, and we can't rely upon volunteers all the time to do this work. And we're very good volunteers. It's a lot of hard work pulling little saplings out of the streams, but could this neighborhood board perhaps in the future request that the state allocate some funds to simple maintenance project in the valley so that we can ameliorate the effects of flooding, particularly at Woodlawn Bridge? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Fox. And the current legislative session is wrapping up, but that is something we can put up for next year's session. Any other questions or comments? Oh, Glenn, please go ahead.
Want to talk about the narrowing of Manoa Stream along Manoa Valley District Park. I found out this problem about 2 months ago when there was a flooding incident. I think some people would remember seeing the stream backing up at the Manoa Valley District Park right before the concrete culvert. The stream was so high, the debris field was about right next to the sidewalk where the dog park is at, and that's exceedingly pretty high. The result of that situation, upstream where Kahalo Bridge is at, where I live, the stream was backed up also. So it was like almost a flood stage from 2004. And I had no idea what was causing the water to be so high. And I was just about ready to get some sandbags because I didn't know how long it was going to be. But thankfully, the stream was able to eventually drain out past the narrowing area. But I did find out later that on the Eva side of Manoa Stream, there is a bunch of debris about as high as a berm that's on the left side where people are walking their dogs on, and which used to be part of Manoa Stream. So the city needs to go and dredge that part of the stream, just like Woodlawn Bridge. They need to dredge those portions of the stream so to allow smooth flow of the stream to prevent future flooding. And
sorry, I got to limit for time, so just try and wrap it up if you can.
okay, yeah. So basically, those are two areas I wanted to get the city to dredge. I did talk to someone when they were doing the dredging at the concrete culvert, but I have never got any callbacks or responses. So I keep calling them back, ask them when they're going to schedule it.
All right. Thanks, Glenn. And I think sorry, for the record, Glenn Ochiguro, thank you for coming in and talking about that. And I believe the mayor's representative and Councilman Nishimoto's representative are both still on, so they can pass those requests back to the city.
Yeah.
Jolyn, please go ahead.
Hi, Jolyn Okimoto, Manoa resident. I just wanted to try to tie these things together. You know, the fact that there is a LOI flood mitigation project all these years, concerns about the LOI flooding, saving Waikiki, land situation, debris. I mean, it seems that we should, like Member Fox said, take care of our stream and not add to its flood risk, which I think adding Banyan Court intends to add, and also their proposed above ground sewage, 14,400 gallons. Like, it wouldn't just be flood water, it would be sewage flood water. So I think we should not just think about flood as if it's an isolated thing, but also look at our own impacts, including housing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe and Okimoto, and I'll let Elton have the last word, and then we gotta move forward. So Member Fukumoto, please go ahead, and then we're gonna move on.
Yes, Chair. Glenn Otagudo kind of jumped the gun. That was my topic, and Glenn came in, but that's fine. I just wanted to summarize and let people know that Glenn lives right along Manoa Stream, and he has to worry every time it rains hard. He and all the other people who live next to the stream have to worry about whether they're going to evacuate. So these people are directly impacted by the maintenance in the stream. And it seems to me that people like Glenn are pointing out that the stream is not being properly maintained, and the city just, it's as if if they don't see it, then it's not happening. So there's ineffective monitoring and ineffective maintenance of the stream in Glenn's area, which is just opposite of Manoa Valley District Park. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Member Fukumoto. Sorry, I see your hand. Minutes, and we have some big items potentially coming up, so I'm gonna need to move us forward to is Rossi Zakane there online?
Hello, Chair.
Okay, so this is item it's a presentation which might lead us into a resolution regarding an empty homes tax idea for the city and county of Honolulu. It's my understanding they've passed this idea out at a bunch of other neighborhood boards, and ours was next on the list. So if we finally were able to find time to get them on the agenda. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Rossi Sakani from Empty Homes Coalition to give us his presentation on the empty homes tax policy, and then we'll consider the resolution on it. So yeah, Ross, please go ahead.
Mahalo, Chair. Aloha community, board members. My name is Rossi Sokane. I'm a member of a grassroots coalition. We're advocating for solutions to our affordable housing crisis. And we believe that 2024's Bill 46, that's the empty homes tax, but it's also known as the anti-speculative investment tax, really can help. Now, when it comes to our housing crisis, we know we have a supply problem and we need to build more. But reasonable people can also agree that we have an excessive demand problem driven by outside speculative investors seeking to take advantage of some of the lowest property taxes in the nation. Now, during a crisis, people shouldn't be allowed to hoard, and definitely not outsiders. If we don't come together to stop this speculative investment, more of our sons, our daughters, our grandchildren will be forced to leave Hawaii to go somewhere they can actually afford. Now, the empty homes tax is a concept that cities around the world have implemented to incentivize long-term rentals of vacant empty units. Bill 46, we believe, will do the same, but we believe it's more accurately described as an anti-speculative investment tax because to date, our council members have actually added in numerous exemptions that protect Oahu residents who might happen to own an extra home that they have a good reason to keep empty. Just a couple of examples. If an Oahu resident is keeping an extra home, say for their kids or grandkids to move into, it will be exempt. Or say an Oahu resident becomes ill and unfortunately needs to move into an assisted living facility, it will be exempt. And there are many more exemptions related to valid reasons for Oahu residents. But a speculative investor, especially one that doesn't live on Oahu, if they have extra homes, and by the way, some of them own more than 5 and more, if they're keeping those empty during a housing crisis, those excess homes might be subject to a higher property tax. Now, we believe this idea will work, and maybe we would no longer have the need for, let's say, additional affordable housing developments being fast-tracked, like, I don't know, Manoa Banyan Court is one I've heard a lot about. Just for context on how popular an idea this is, in a recent survey by Ward Research Incorporated, 74% of Oahu residents support this concept. As the chair mentioned, to date, 5 other neighborhood boards have stepped up and adopted a resolution in support, including most recently your neighbors in Makali, Mo'iliili. I think it's great that your board is open to considering a similar resolution to fight back against outside speculative investors who are making our housing crisis work. I'll stop there. There's a lot of nuances, details. I'll pause to see if there's any questions.
All right. Thank you, Ross, for a very quick presentation. So I'm going to try and enforce time on this because our board's never talked about this idea before, and I want people to have a chance to state their opinion. So we'll enforce time pretty strictly here so everyone has a chance to speak. Does anyone from the board want to talk about this proposal? Member Moylan?
I just want to ask, right now, we already have a property tax situation where there is a lower property tax for people who live in their house, and there's a higher property tax for people who don't live in their house. Is this bill proposed that says an even higher property tax if nobody's living in the house? Is that how it works, or is it a completely separate add-on tax?
Great question. It started off as an incremental tax, but since then the council has shifted to say they're going to propose to create a new property class. So like you mentioned, there's residential A as an example if you're not an owner occupant. In this case, they would create a residential E. And looking at that, if you're not an owner occupant, because you'd be exempt, if you have an additional home, that extra home might be classed as residential E and maybe subject to a higher tax cost.
Thank you.
All right. Any other board members? I'll go with Member Fox and then. Yeah.
Question here. Is there like a time limit on your bill? Say, if a house is empty for 6 months, it gets taxed. If the house is empty for 3 months, I mean, what is the cutoff for vacancy in a home?
Next. Oh, go ahead. Finish your question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just considering there's so many of my friends here in Honolulu who have houses in Portland, Seattle, California, and they split their time between the states because they love Hawaii. I've been coming back and forth between California and Hawaii for 50 years. So, I mean, I think that I'm a resident of Hawaii. I finally retired here full time, but if I want to go back to my house in California, I don't want to be taxed because I missed a month.
Excellent question. And right now, the way the bill is written is if the person who resides in the property, and that's either an owner or a renter, by the way, so a renter does qualify. If they reside for 6 or more months, it would be considered occupant and it would be exempt from this tax. Now, granted, if let's say the situation you're describing, sometimes we call them snowbirds, and they are a part of our community. But the reality is we are in a housing crisis. So if someone is living, say, on the mainland for more than 6 months and they come and spend time in Hawaii, this tax, I do believe, would look at that and say, well, maybe that individual can afford to pay a higher tax rate. Just want to be upfront.
My next question, somewhat political, and
Sorry, we'll come back to you later, but I want to give some others some chance to speak. Member Fukumoto, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'll begin with a couple of questions. What is the actual tax and how is it calculated?
So the actual tax is not stated. As many of you know who pay property taxes, the city council sets tax rates. I believe it's every single year through resolution. Now, earlier iterations I'll share with the bill have proposed starting off with a 1% tax rate. Vancouver, as an example, which is what this empty homes tax or anti-speculative investment tax is mirrored off of, went in a scaled rate of starting from 1% and moved up to 3% after if the home was empty for 3 years. So that's my quick answer. If it's modeled after Vancouver, it might be anywhere from 1% to 3%, but the city council would set that every year.
Is that description in our resolution? And if not, how do we know what we're actually voting for?
So what we're voting for and what a lot of other neighborhood boards have voted for is just the concept. It's the concept high level of saying, we know there's a lot of outside speculative investment. We know there's a housing crisis. We know a lot of our keiki are forced to move out of Hawaii because so many investors are coming and snatching up properties so they can't afford to live. So we just support the concept of, if you're an outside investor and you're taking up inventory, housing inventory from our kids who want to live here, maybe you should be charged a higher property tax rate. In a housing crisis, that is.
All right, I'm gonna go to Member Kawano, who I think is on Zoom. Member Kawano, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. My question is, how do you monitor these, right? Like, we don't want any unintended consequences that would hurt local family. And I know we tried the best to protect that because I have family member where the elderly parents got into the care home, and last thing they want to do is clean up the house and get it for sale so someone can live in it or rent it out, because there's maybe 30 years of memory and stuff you got to go through. So it's a very difficult time if you have a sick family member in a care home, and that's not what we wanted to do. And how do you know that the investor is out of state versus in state? And how do you confirm that? Is there any more discussion on that? Because I really would hate for a bill that would have consequences that would hurt local families and tax them when they're the worst time, when they have a grandparent or parent in a care home and they had to worry about paying for taxes because they went to a care home.
No, and that's an excellent question. And the council has been very, very mindful and cognizant of not wanting to hurt local families. And I'll reiterate, in the situation you're describing, if a person goes into an assisted living facility, or if they have to even go into medical care, they would be exempt under the bill. Oahu residents who own one extra home, they actually would also be exempt under the bill. If they own 2, 3, 4 extra homes, maybe those 3rd, 4th, and 5th homes would not be exempt. To get back to your question, enforcement, the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services would be responsible for coming up with plans on how to send out notices, right? Because right now everyone gets a notice to fill out their homeowner's exemption, or that's the starting process. And those are largely self-declarations. So the concept, although the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services would have to come up with this plan. And sorry, just to quickly mention, this bill, even if passed, wouldn't go into effect until I think July 2027. So a lot of years to educate and come up with a plan. But the thought process right now is that they might rely on self-declarations. They might say, hey, if you meet one of these exemptions, just declare that and that'll be it, and see what happens.
I just have lots of concern about the bill, so that's just my comment.
I understand.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna call on Member Chong, then we'll circle back to Member Fox. Member Chong, please go ahead.
Thank you. I am really against this because, when we had that property tax thing and they said, oh, we're only going to charge the millionaires the property tax thing. And then I'm not a millionaire. I work for the federal government. I drive a 2005 Toyota Camry. I'm not a millionaire. Yet I'm being charged for my property $8,000, over $8,000 for 6 months. And that's because, quote unquote, I am one of the millionaires that they're charging. So as I said, and I think I agree with Patty saying, how do you know you're going to be able to, reiterate and tax the right people? I'm not a millionaire, and that was the reasoning for the property tax to go sky high, and now I have to scramble.
Sorry, Member Chong. Sorry, we got to move on so everyone can speak. But thank you for sharing
But I'm
your
against this
opinion.
because this is what we're going to get into again.
Okay, thank you, Member Chong, for explaining where you're at on the bill. Member Fox, we'll circle back to you, and then I'm going to open it up to. Oh, okay. So we're going to go to Member Fox, then Member Moylan, and then we'll open up to community very briefly, and then we'll move forward. Member Fox, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I am terribly uncomfortable as a board member to vote on a proposal that doesn't specify anything. This is well, we sort of kind of want to do something, and yet there's nothing specific here. that gives me the nervous heebie-jeebies because, go ahead and do whatever the hell you want, but we sort of support you. You know, I don't think that's an appropriate motion for a board to take, my opinion. Sorry.
All right, Member One, please go ahead.
Just want to quickly follow up on Member Fox's first question and the answer to it. Able to own homes outside the state and here, and stays here 4 months out of the year and stays in the other place 8 months out of the year. So that person would be subject to this tax. But if the purpose of the tax is to allow otherwise vacant buildings to house people, that's not going to happen in that case. You're just going to be hitting that person up for a lot more tax money, unless, of course, the tax is so onerous that the person goes, well, I guess I can't afford to keep my property in Hawaii anymore that I live in 4 months out of the year, and now I have to sell it. Is that the intention, to sort of coerce people who own 2 homes into selling their home in Hawaii? Because that's the only way I can see that this would basically create a housing unit to deal with some of the surplus. Otherwise, you're just taxing people.
Chair, I'd be happy to respond. I'm chomping at the bit to respond to a lot of these, but I know you're
Quick response, like half a minute long. Just go.
Yeah. So the answer would be, Bill is 2 parts. It wants to incentivize those types of residents and or those types of owners. But second part is, hey, you know, it's a free country. So if someone wants to keep their property vacant for 8 months or keep the property vacant for the entire time, and maybe they'll be charged an incremental tax, we can use that incremental tax revenues to build more affordable housing. We're in a crisis. We know we're in a budget crunch, dire budget crunch right now. So the thought process is people who own those properties maybe can help out the rest of us with that. And I'm not a millionaire either. I actually don't even own a home. So
Okay.
I'm for this concept. Go ahead.
So I did see raised hand from Member Shrekky, but first I want to give community members a chance to talk if they want to. So, you know, 3 or 4 community members, people in person or online, wanted to speak as community members, but whether they're for or against it. Rick Tapata, please go ahead. We'll go to Ray and then Brett Kurushige.
Thank you, Ray Zapata again. I'll keep this short. I have a kind of basic question. I'm not sure if this has come up before, but how do you know that a house is vacant and how long it's vacant? Is that a self-reporting thing, or it's going to work?
For starters, self-declarations is the theory. I'll try to be quick with that. Self-declarations.
All right, now Brett's up.
Brett Kurushige, Mānoa resident. I was closely participating in the council's hearings on this topic, and I submitted testimony against it, mainly because, and they eventually, of course, did not proceed. They kind of deferred it to action in the council this year. And the reason is that there's a lot of unintended third party, you know, third order effects and probably fourth order effects. It was clear during the proceedings that they weren't well thought through, and that's why they kept adding exemptions. I mean, the list grew longer and longer and longer as the session went on, and they eventually killed it. But I would advise this board not to get involved at this stage. This is even less clear at this point. But yeah, I think there's a very strong danger that it's not well thought through. And honestly, it's not clear at all if this is even going to achieve what they intend to achieve. And the practicality of it is that it's impractical for, there was testimony by the head of the budget and finance, you know, the people that would actually administer this tax.
Sorry, I got to cut you off time, but
Yeah,
thanks for
giving
us a synopsis. I'm not seeing any other community members who are jumping up to speak, so I'm just going to go with Member Mishrecki, and then we're going to move on to the next item. Oh, Member Osel. We'll go to Member Mishrecki, then Member Bosel, and then we're going to move forward. Member Mishrecki, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just wanted to clarify again. Could you, so you mentioned that Oahu homeowners that own one additional home would be exempt from it, but how does it work for local residents that own multiple homes with the intention of rentals? Like if they're renting it out more than one additional, would they be subject to the tax as well?
Rentals are exempt if the renter lives there for 6 months or more.
Got it. Okay. No matter the quantity of properties, correct?
No matter the quantity of properties, as long as
Okay.
a resident is living there for 6 months, you could own 100, and that would be good for our housing crisis, which is
Understood.
causing so many of our residents to move out.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Good
Thank
question. No, thank you.
All right, thanks, Member Sharkey and Member Bosel.
You said that a number of people own not just one, two, or own more than one that are empty here. Do you have an idea if that's a large percentage that own more than one home here in the islands that are empty?
It's a struggle right now. I mean, I live in downtown. I'm in Kaka'ako. I see Kaka'ako all the time with the empty lights and things of that nature. Anecdotally, it's hard because property tax records are difficult, but we know there's a lot of private equity, or we've heard there's a lot of private equity investors coming in and buying these up.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You don't have an idea of how many people or how many properties are like 3, 4, 5, as you said, owned by one person who is owning all that from who potentially doesn't live here at all.
I don't have those numbers. I'm just a resident myself, so I'm struggling to get all the facts. Thanks for the question.
Sorry, I see your hands, but with the clock ticking, I think we've all made our opinions pretty clear on this. Those of us who have opinions. So we're gonna move on from the presentation. We're gonna go to item B, the resolution. Members who are here in person had hard copies given to them. So at this time, I'm gonna ask if there's a motion and a second to pass the resolution. If there is, we'll take a vote on it. If there's no motion or no second, then it's not gonna get off the ground. So at this time, I'm entertaining a motion. Does any member of the board want to make a motion to pass the resolution standing in solidarity with Neighborhood Board number 13 in support of establishing an empty homes tax in Honolulu from Rossi Sokane and the Empty Homes Coalition? Oh, yeah.
I would make a motion to start discussing it, but I think it would need potentially, language changes, which we do not have time for. So is it possible to? Oh. Yeah, then I would make a motion to discuss potentially,
Okay. Motion's up.
discussing some of the language of it.
Do we have a second to that motion? So shout it out. We're discussing it and potentially changing language.
In order to then vote on it.
Member Lee, you have a raised hand. Is the raised hand to second the motion? Okay, there's no more raised hand. Oh, Member Lee, I'm recognizing your raised hand. Member Olson made a motion to discuss it and then possibly vote on it. Are you seconding her motion?
Yes, I second.
Okay, so discussion. Board members? Member Fukumoto?
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting against this resolution. The state legislature has quite a few bills before it, including Senator Fukunaga's bill. House Housing Chair Eslin has 5 bills moving through. One of them does address the plight of people who have a mixed income, said to be between 60 and 140 of the median income, that would address some of the concerns of this bill with housing. If these, and that particular bill has already made it through, it looks like it's going to pass the legislature this term. If so, then this particular bill in the city council would be simply not needed. So I'm voting against this. Thank you.
All right, for this, Member Moylan?
Yes, a better way to deal with this would be have the motion say, we approve this resolution and then start taking amendments rather than essentially take the amendments first, because you might do a whole bunch of amendments and then still might get shot down. I guess at this point, the horse is out of the barn on that, but I think normally you would want to first make the motion to approve it, even if you, unless you hate it, and then be amendments.
Well, I guess I'll respond to Moylan. From the comments made, it's not clear to me if it can be salvaged. So if a board member wants to propose a way to change it to try and salvage it, then they should say what their suggestion is. Oh, Mayor Wilson? No. Is there anyone online? Okay, any other discussion? If there's no discussion,
I guess I would say, be it, so the second, excuse me, Chair, the second to the last clause, be it further resolved that the Manoa Neighborhood Board number 7 supports, instead of the concepts contained within the current draft, I'd say the aim of, Bill 46. No. Other, still that is equally vague. Okay.
Member Zane?
I was going to state that your suggestion for that also is still, the language is a little bit too vague in order to really define what the aims are. And even within the context of this proposed resolution, it's a little bit too, and it doesn't go like all over the place.
Referring to. I was just saying that it's referring to the current draft. So I think that the language detailing the, more of the specifics is in this Bill 46 that is repeatedly referenced in here.
Member Moylan?
But which we haven't seen. So in fact, your proposed language of supporting the goal rather than the specific tactics that are in this bill that we haven't seen would be an improvement, in my opinion, for what it's worth.
All right. Any other board, excuse me, any other board member discussion? I'll open up really briefly to community members if there's any non-board members who want to speak, and then I guess I'm gonna call for a vote. Any community members want to weigh in on this? All right. So, okay.
So point of
Member Zane?
order,
Yeah.
are we hearing a motion to support the proposal to change the language of that second, be it further resolved, or are we putting a motion to approve the resolution as is?
Sorry, I should say this more clearly. I believe the motion was to pass the resolution. And once the motion had been made, then there was a possibility of motions to amend. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. Just because we have people talking off mic. So, okay, stop. Okay, so things being cleared up now. This wasn't a motion to vote on. This was a motion to consider making changes, and no changes have been made. So I'm going to consider that motion terminated for lack of people proposing viable ways to change it. So at this time, I'll ask again: do we have a motion to pass the resolution? Going once. Going twice. Anyone online? So anyone online?
Motion to pass. I did motion to pass.
You're making motion to pass the resolution? Okay. And do we have a second to Member Lee's motion? Going once? Who seconded? Member Lee made the motion. Member Lumen seconded the motion. The motion is to pass it as is. We already had a long discussion about potential amendments. No viable amendments were proposed, so I'm just gonna say no discussion. We're gonna vote on it. And at least some members have indicated they're against it, so we're not gonna do general consent. We're gonna do a roll call. Anson, please do a roll call vote.
Okay, when I call your name, please say yes, nor abstain. Robert Zane?
No.
Alan Watson? Oh, Whitney Bowles, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Dave Nagaji?
No.
Alton Fukumoto?
No.
Okay. Clyde Lumen? You said yes? Phil Lee? You're muted. Okay, so just yes. Okay. Joanne Koff. Joanne? Okay, I'm thinking she's not here. Okay, Diane Chong.
No.
Christopher Moylan.
No, I liked Whitney's version better.
Jason DeMarco.
No.
Patty Quano.
No.
Robert Fox.
Where's my?
No.
And Joseph Mashirky.
No.
Okay. Joanne Koff.
No.
Okay, nope. That's 3 yes and that's 3 no's. 10 no's. The motion is not adopted.
All right, thank you guys for the roll call vote. I apologize, Ross, but well, this is the first time considering it. We considered it and we decided not to adopt it. So
Thank you for your consideration, board, to everyone. Thank you.
all right, thank you, Ross. So we're going to move forward with the rest of our board business. We'll try to figure all of it out before we adjourn. So first, we have the open forum to discuss legislation and make suggestions to or requests to area lawmakers. Do we have anyone who wants to speak to that? If so, please raise your hand. Not seeing anyone in person. Oh, Member DeMarco, please go ahead.
Yes, this is a question to our state lawmakers relating to House Bill 546. I happen to have been doing a little research into artificial intelligence just this week. And so what I was finding is many states and municipalities that are pursuing artificial intelligence in earnest are grappling with the issue of providing enough power to the necessary data banks and servers to power the development of artificial intelligence capabilities. And so I'm wondering if the state has considered power demand in funding these kinds of initiatives. Thank you.
Member Fukunaga, you can respond if you want.
I can generally respond to your question. Senate Bill 1622 and House Bill 546 were companion measures that were the outgrowth of a series of town meeting discussions that the Academy for Creative Media System held last year. And within the ACM system, there was a lot of interest in harnessing AI from a creative media and applied research perspective. So the two bills that were introduced were to follow up on that. And at this point, I believe that Vice President Sirmos has been sort of leading the discussion. There is one bill that is still alive. It's primarily positions and funding to establish kind of more of a working group. So I think from state government perspective, certainly the UH system has been very careful to examine what the electricity impacts would be. So I think that, the issue and the question about the use of additional energy is something that UH would definitely take into consideration before they embark on any kind of major undertaking. But these were, the discussions that were held last year were held among a variety of campuses and examined how different campuses that were particularly in the creative media area would be utilizing AI.
All right, thank you, Senator Fukunaga. I believe Representative Andrew Garrett's hand was also raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I actually introduced this bill, House Bill 546, on behalf of the university. Unfortunately, this bill is not going to make the next deadline here. It was not scheduled by the Ways and Means Committee. But what they did in their version of the House budget, or their version of the HB 300, the budget bill, is appropriate money to the UH community college system. We don't know the exact amount yet, but the Senate, I believe, is looking at it from a workforce development standpoint to make sure that there's academic programs in place to make sure that our workforce, we have workers that are trained in, when the time comes to, potentially deploy into the area of AI. What the bill does not do is, require UH to set up like its own AI server or anything like that, that does have these really massive energy demands, as Member DeMarco noted. That's not the intention of this bill. It's just to try to get UH ahead of it, to formalize a process. Because right now, this is moving really faster than the speed of light. We're probably behind the curve at this point anyway. So what we were trying to do is get this a formalized structure in place at the university. But again, there is a budget item that would set up just the workforce component within the community college system. But yeah, thank you, Member DeMarco, for the question.
All right, thank you, Representative. Do we have any other questions for our area lawmakers linked to legislation or anything like that? I see Ellen. I don't see a last name, but Ellen, please go ahead. You're muted.
Sorry. I just was hoping to quickly ask Representative Garrett a question as to whether in the deliberations about AI-related bills at the legislature, there has been any controversy about whether we really should be pursuing this actively in Hawaii and what the downside is of AI as far as its use for surveillance and that sort of thing. Just wondering.
Yeah, no, thank you, Dr. Sophia. There were some people who testified in front of the Higher Ed Committee, just kind of expressing some of that concern about the role AI might, and the role it's going to place in putting people's privacy rights at risk. And there's a lot of, this can be deployed too in areas like healthcare, as you know, being a medical professional, where you might have certain biases in place and you end up using a program that ends up hurting certain classes of people or certain demographics more so. There is that concern as well that was articulated in prior committee hearings about the privacy angle and how that might impact our community.
All right, thank you, Representative. We'll take one more question request if anyone has one. Not seeing anything online. All right. All right, thanks everyone. Thank you, Representative Garrett and Senator Fukunaga, for sticking around for that. We're moving forward to selection of our recess month. So typically, our board picks either June or July each year to be our recess month. So at this time, we'll entertain discussions and motions to make either June 2025 or July 2025 our recess month this year. I'll go with Member Zane first, and then I'll go to Member Moylan.
I would like to request that this particular issue is tabled, considering that the new board is coming on board soon, and it might be better for the new board that takes effect later on to make a decision regarding which is the recess month.
Member Moylan?
Well, I was going to move that we take our recess in July.
So I just asked this because typically, from what I've seen, we vote to do a recess even when it's the end of our year. And yeah, it either means that our term ends 1 month late effectively, or the next term starts
Hey, don't we
1 month late.
recess in December for Christmas and New Year's?
Yes, but we typically recess twice, once during summer month, once during December month. Anyway, there was a motion made. Member Moylan, could you repeat the motion, please?
Yes, the motion is that we take our summer recess in July.
All right, motion has been made. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. July. So motion was made by Member Moylan, seconded by Member Zane to make July 2025 our recess month. I see a raised hand from Member Koff. If so, please go ahead. Oh, okay. I think you're trying to motion or second. Okay. Do we have any discussion on making July 2025? Member Fukumoto, please go ahead.
Yes, sorry, Member Moylan, I will be voting against this. The simple reason that I will not be here in June. So I would prefer June to have a recess in June. I will be attending my 50th year college reunion on the East Coast at a school that's a little bit older even than. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Member Fox, please go ahead.
I also will not be here in June. I'll be in Spain, just so you know.
Is anyone, you just want to, okay, go ahead.
Just one comment that might consider another factor for people's votes. July 4th this year will fall on a Friday. So if we choose to have the recess or the meeting on July, it will be July 2nd.
Okay. So having heard discussion, does anyone want to make a motion to amend or no? Okay. In that case, I guess we're going to do a vote and there's some opposition. So we're going to do a roll call. Hanson, please do the roll call vote. And again, this is to make July 2025 the recess month.
Okay. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Okay. Robert Zane.
Aye.
Okay. Bozo.
Aye.
Whitney. Okay. Dave.
Aye.
Elton Fukumoto.
Nay.
Clyde Lumen. Okay. Phil Lee. Lee.
Member Lee, you're muted. You got to unmute.
Aye.
Okay. Joanne Koff.
Aye.
Diane Chong.
No.
Christopher Moylan.
Yes.
Okay. Jason DeMarco.
No.
Patty Quano.
Aye.
Robert Fox.
No.
Okay. And Joseph Mishreki.
Aye.
That's 9 votes for yes and 4 for no. This is adopted.
Okay. So we've adopted to go into recess for July 2025. That means that our May meeting will be the last effective meeting of this board term because June is going to be recess. Okay. Thanks everyone for going through that. We'll go very quickly through filling the vacancies. We have 3 vacancies in Subdistrict 4. Is there anyone who wants to fill a vacancy? So just raise your hand. Anyone? All right. Next, we're going to approval of the Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 draft meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make the motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Motion is made by Member Bosel, seconded by Member Zane to approve the Wednesday, March 5th draft meeting minutes. Any discussion? Anyone online? Member Kawano, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. On the minutes, I noticed that there are a couple of voting. Well, I did not attend the meeting last month, but it noted that I voted for yes, but I was not present. So if you can make an amendment to that.
Okay, we'll put that on as a non-substantive amendment that Anson will remove Member Kawano's vote since she wasn't present. Any other discussion?
But I was not present, sorry.
Right. Any other discussion before we approve it? All right. Is anyone opposed to approving the March 5th, 2025 meeting minutes? If so, please say so. Okay, I'm seeing and hearing no one. So those meetings passed by general agreement.
And point of order regarding that is the amended minutes, so that way it removes Member Kawano's name from any votes.
Yes, and to be very clear, it's amended to remove Member Kawano's name from the votes that she didn't actually participate in. Next, we'll go to letter G, update on the primary urban center development plan. Do we have any updates on that? It's normally Member Watson's item, but does anyone want to speak to it? All right, not hearing anyone. So I guess.
Know whether Heath is still on, if there's anything happening in the city council that he could speak to.
Okay. I guess not. Anyway. So
I'm
moving past
sorry, I
that-
missed the question.
Oh, sorry, can you ask the question?
Oh, I was just wondering whether there were any updates on the PUCDP and how that was moving through the city council.
Oh, so just earlier today, it cleared a hurdle in its final hearing. It's going back to the full council for a final vote. So that's the status. There were a couple of changes. I don't have a detailed description of the changes, but they were kind of minor. I can come back and speak more about this next month, but it just happened this afternoon, so I don't have a detailed description.
All right, thank you. Please do keep us in the loop if you can.
Okay.
We're going to move on next to item H. This is just a quick update regarding the Manoa Valley District Park pool, because a few people have been asking about it recently, or for the past few months, actually. So the Department of Parks and Recreation has announced via email that the Manoa pool is now scheduled to reopen by the beginning of Summer Fun 2025 in early June. They told me the reason for it was that they were originally going to use city personnel, but they found out they needed to hire a contractor, and that delayed things. So that's just an update. Early June is when the pool at the park is slated to reopen. Next, there's the creation of a committee that Member Watson wanted to make. She's not here, so we're just going to pass that. And a report from Member Moylan on the Proactive Solutions Committee if he wants to give one.
Okay. If you like in future, Mr. Chair, I could simply submit the minutes I take and you could append those to the packet, or I can do live reports, whichever you prefer going forward. But for tonight, I can tell you we've had 2 meetings. And among the issues we have discussed are traffic circles, mostly thinking around here of the five corners, parking, which is integrally intermingled with the traffic issue. Just on the way here, I went down 3 roads that we taxpayers have paid to make a 2-lane wide road. So it's like 1 lane each direction. It's like on the road to Hana. It's absurd. So people are using public right of way to store their vehicles. And that's quite an issue. As we learned at the last meeting, UH alone has 8,000 people and only 3,000 parking spaces. So that's a part of our problem. I think the Good Neighbors initiative we learned about tonight may have some work to do on that. We also have talked about undergrounding of utilities. We know both here on Maui and in California, huge, horrible wildfires have been sparked by down power lines. It turns out that in both places, the utility will chip in to help underground utilities. But then, of course, the city also has to chip in too. So we're exploring the ramifications of that. And we will probably come back to you all with a recommendation on where in our neighborhood we might want to underground the utilities. It's really expensive, but it's really worth it. We've also looked into recycled water. You heard me doing some of my committee homework, asking Dominic earlier in the meeting about that. And then we've had some preliminary discussions about the housing issue, a huge issue. Another one that came up is the quality of the pavement around here. The roads around here are so bumpy. You'd think you'd be in Cleveland where it freezes every year and thaws and there's all these expansions and contractions. Considering that here on this island, it's 80 plus or minus 5 degrees 24/7. How is it we have such terrible roads? The suggestion may be that instead of patching, we should do more repaving. And so we're working on that one with possible resolution to come before you. And finally, you heard Dave doing some of his committee homework, looking about the possibility of putting sidewalks where they don't exist. We have a lot of those around here. One of my favorite anecdotes is going to the mayor's town hall last year and having to walk along Mānoa Road in the dark on a wet road because there's no sidewalks. And a black SUV pulls up and says, "Hey, you want to ride?" It was the mayor. So even he recognized it's pretty dangerous around here. So those are the issues we have been discussing. And the idea is to come back to you with something more substantive like a resolution to see if the full board would like to make recommendations to the city on issues that affect the whole city and our neighborhood in particular.
All right, thank you, Member Moylan. Do we have any brief comments or questions from Member Moylan? Member Fox, please go ahead, and then we'll probably have to move on. Go ahead.
Brilliant committee. Yay. Very happy about the wiring. It does two things immediately to me. It supports the beauty of our islands, which is why we don't have billboards. And the preventative maintenance is so significant. I think the estimate was the damages from the Lahaina fire were $6 billion, but to put the wires underground was only $4.5 billion. So it's a cost saving in the long run. So I support that completely.
Yeah, thank you. I was just there over the weekend, and Vice Chair Committee DeMarco is the one who's doing the heaviest lifting on that issue.
All right, any final remarks from Member Moylan? If not, with the agenda. All right, thank you, Member Moylan. With the committee report, we're going forward now to community concerns. I didn't have anything listed, so we just have a general item. We just have a general item for other concerns not otherwise listed for community concerns. So did any community members, either in person or online, want to, Ray Tuata, please go ahead. And we're gonna have to enforce time for this because we're coming up on it, so.
Rita Bata again. I just want to add to something that Glenn said earlier. I said earlier about the debris. I've been kind of following Manoa Stream myself because being on Laurie Avenue, there's a couple of dozen residents who live along Laurie Avenue. We've been flooded at least 3 times, 2004 and more recently, smaller floods in the last few years. But I think one of the problems we haven't maybe looked at is that besides the debris problem on near Kahalua, if you look at the Diamond Head side of the park, there's a concrete wall that abruptly ends. And looking at that wall, it looks like there's a portion missing, which would keep the stream from overflowing toward the park. So I think that's one of the things that we need to look at. Why does it look like there's a portion of that wall missing? And I have some pictures from the last 2 minor floods. And I think I've documented the water leaving the stream over top the edge of the stream bank, went through the park, along the fence line, across the berm into all these properties.
Sorry, I got to jump in for time.
So that's kind of something I want to bring up. The park itself needs to be looked at for the drainage and this missing wall. And facilities management, I guess, will be the one to take care of drainage along the stretch. So I think there's a couple of problems with that section.
All right, thank you. Any other quick last minute community concerns from audience members? Not seeing anyone online. So we're gonna go ahead and move on from that to announcements. So neighborhood board elections for the 2025 to 2027 term. Late February was the deadline for people to register as candidates for the neighborhood board system. Voting begins April 25th, 2025, and voting ends on May 16th, 2025. The only competitive election for the Manoa Neighborhood Board will be in Subdistrict 1, where there are 5 candidates running for 3 available seats. So if you live in that subdistrict, remember to vote. Our next meeting, yes?
I haven't been through one of these elections. Do we all get to vote? Oh, so it's just sub-district by sub-district. So,
yeah, so
most of the sub-districts won't even get a ballot.
Yeah. So
for the people who live in the one where there's a competitive election, do they all get a notification? Here's your electronic ballot, get on there? Or do they have to remember to get on the website or something like that?
That I'm not too sure. This is my first time actually doing elections. I'll
You and me
email you
both.
back. If you email me the question, I'll email it back to you. We also do paper.
Yeah, I think you get a notification. If you're in sub-district 1, you'll get a notification that you need to go online.
the voting deadline is May 16th, so at the meeting we can give better instructions on the specifics. But yeah, if you're a resident of Subdistrict 1, then you have competitive election, 5 candidates and 3 seats. Everyone else, there's no competitive election. Our next regular board meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. It'll be held in person at Nolangi Elementary School cafeteria, as well as online via WebEx starting at 6:30 p.m. Excuse me. There's a couple agenda items that I've already planned out for next meeting. One of them is going to be the resolution asking city and state to jointly consider the cumulative impact of Manoa Bending Court and Aria Lane during the future proceedings and appeals. And another one is a presentation requested by the Department of Transportation Services regarding potential changes to the bus routes. And other items might be added if space on the agenda permits. Lastly, the Alila rebroadcast can be watched on second and fourth Saturdays of the month at 3 p.m. or every third Tuesday at 9 p.m. or online on the Alila website, on the Honolulu website, or on YouTube. Okay, we got through the agenda. We will pray for the recovery of Member Ellen Watson, and we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.